Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. So I decided to do another makeup tutorial for today's video because I honestly have been spending so much time doing my makeup, practicing. I mean, I'm literally doing my makeup to sit on the sofa every day, but it's actually been quite fun because I do feel like it passes the time, which we all need something to do right now. So with that being said, another good thing that has come from isolation is the fact that a lot of my favorite makeup artists that I follow on Instagram have been doing Instagram lives, Instagram stories, mini tutorials, all these kind of different things. And I've honestly been such an avid watcher of them. I'm like there with my notepad writing down all the products I need. And this is where I basically got the inspiration for this makeup look. So I've used a little bit of everyone's different techniques to create this look. But if you would like to see how I created this makeup look, then please keep watching. So I'm just gonna start by brushing through my eyebrows. I put some fake tan on my face and I put it through my eyebrows and they're looking slightly orange. Not really a vibe, but hey ho. I find it so hard to put fake tan on my face without it going wrong. I feel like if you can nail a face tan, you have got your shit together, you know? I'm gonna start off with an eyeshadow base and I'm using the NARS one here. This one is in the shade medium. I like this one because it's like putting a concealer on your lid. It's not like some of the other eyeshadow bases that kind of dry a bit hard. This one stays creamy like a concealer would. So I'm just gonna put that all over my eyelid and bring it all the way to my nose and up to my brow. And then I just like to put a little bit of concealer just on my brow bone. This is the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer in Custard. I'm just gonna use that same brush and just buff it in. So that is the base for this look. The next step for this is I'm literally going to put bronzer all over my eyelid and blend it out. For this I'm using the MAC Give Me Sun bronzer and I'm using a blank canvas E25 brush, and I'm basically just gonna put it all over my lid, but I'm gonna start off in the crease first. And then I'm gonna buff it all the way up into my brow and all over the lid. I'm also gonna make sure that I'm taking the product right into the corner of my nose and into the corner of my eye. This just helps when we add on the contour and yeah, adds a little bit more definition to your face, I find. So when it comes to buffing out the corner, I basically just kind of take the bronzer color up to the tail end of my eyebrow in sort of like a wing. This is just so that when we come along with the makeup wipe afterwards, we can just clean all the way up and make a nice neat line. So once you're happy with how much you've blended it out, I'm gonna go in with a slightly darker color, and I'm using the KKW Beauty and the Makeup by Mario palette. So from this palette, I'm gonna use the shade Glam King. So I'm gonna apply this to my eye, and I'm gonna start off with a blank canvas E35 brush, and then I'm gonna focus most of the product on the outer corner. So then once I've got a slightly defined wing using that brush, I'm just gonna go in with a fluffier blending brush. This is a Spectrum B11, and I'm just gonna go over it and sort of buff it out. And then the whole time, as I said, I'm just following along the sort of like winged edge, just so when we clean that up, I've got a really neat kind of like winged eyeshadow. So that is probably as dark as I'm gonna take it and also as much as I'm gonna wing it out. So the next step, I'm gonna add some concealer to my eyelid. I'm gonna use the NARS, this is the Soft Matte Complete Concealer. It comes in this little pot, which I think is really handy when you're doing this because it's a slightly thicker concealer than maybe the liquid ones. And then I'm using a concealer brush. This one is actually one from Beauty Bay, it's called an OG shader, but it's perfect for concealer. So I'd say you are looking for something a little bit like that, and then I'm gonna blend it out. So I'm gonna use a lighter color on the top of that to kind of set the concealer and also buff out. So I'm using the Born This Way Too Faced Natural Nudes palette, and then in this I'm just gonna use this really pale shade at the end here, so it's like this whitey shade, and I'm just gonna pat that color onto the concealer. And then this is where I like to just go back in a little bit with the concealer brush and really lightly just press over the eyelid, just so you get like a softer blend. So these ones are the Doll Beauty Esmeralda, I think they're called. I just absolutely love the wing on these, they're so nice. I do actually like to put my lashes on before I clean up the edges of my eyeshadow. This is really handy when you've got wing lashes because you can kind of follow along with the wing of the lash. So to start off with, I'm going to use the Dr. Jart Tiger Grass Colour Correcting Treatment. What a mouthful. I am obsessed with this. I've been using it literally every single day since it arrived. It's so good. It's such a good primer, and it literally does colour correct your skin just so well. If you buy one thing from this haul, I swear to God, just make it this primer. Like when you're applying it, it changes to like a beigey colour. So it looks almost like you're putting on a tinted moisturiser. I suppose that's how you could explain it. I actually sometimes just put this on, like not as a base for makeup, just as a bit of a moisturiser, because it makes your skin look so sort of like perfect. I don't know, it sort of like blurs out all the imperfections. So I put this on and then I maybe put like a BB cream on that's got a bit of colour in it, and it just makes a really perfect kind of like skin base for when you don't want to wear any makeup. I feel like, I don't know if I'm going mad, but I feel like you can see a difference in the colour of my skin. It's like made it, like it's gotten rid of all the redness, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I will stop going on about that now. Also, looking in my little thing here I used to film, my hair needs to be done so badly. There's no explanation for what's going on here. Like, I'm going slightly yellow in colour now. The blonde is, yeah. The roots are coming through. I also really want a haircut. Is anyone else just gagging to get to the hairdressers? That will, I think, be the first thing I do when we get out of this, is go to the hairdressers. I'm so excited. I will never take going to the hairdressers so freely for granted ever again. Ever again. Okay, so to start off with, I'm gonna go in with some foundation. For this, I'm using the Hourglass Vanish Stick. This one is in golden. Because I'm going for like a real glam look, I'm quite generous with the amount of this foundation that I put on. And then I'm gonna use a Real Techniques Expert Face Brush to just buff that out. So I'm just going back in with a damp beauty blender, and I'm going all over my face with this. I honestly don't know what I did before I found out about beauty blenders. Okay, so once you are blended, this is where if I have so much time on my hands, I will sit here and just blend and blend and blend. So I'm gonna go on to concealer. For this, I'm gonna use the LA Girl Pro Concealer in Beautiful Bronze. Watching me do this contour is making me laugh in comparison to when Joe did my makeup in my last video, because the contour, I'm not even joking, he brought the line all the way down to here. If you haven't seen it, it was hilarious. I could not control myself. I literally had to stop the camera from laughing so many times because it was so funny. So I'm just gonna buff that out. And when I buff it out, I like to kind of push the brush upwards and into my hairline, sort of there, just above my ear. So the reason why I blend my cheeks in before I go and do some contour on my forehead is just purely because sometimes I feel like if I leave the contour for too long sitting on my face, I feel like it doesn't necessarily blend in as well as it should do. So I kind of like to do it in stages. This just helps with making everything nice and blended and seamless and all that sort of stuff. For this, I like to take it down and sort of push it into that tail end of my brow. So once that contour is blended in, I'm gonna do a nose contour for this look. So I'm just grabbing, so this is a Sigma Flat Definer E15 brush, and it's really good for going along the side of your nose for contouring. So I'm literally just gonna go along the side of my nose and take it all the way up into my eyebrow. This is so we're gonna buff the line out and sort of into the eyeshadow. And then I'm just gonna buff along the edges. I must say, nose contour is a step that I do normally miss out when I do my makeup. Mainly because I can't really be bothered to do it. But when I do, I feel like it does make such a difference. Like, you do get a real sort of like extra glam look with it. So I'm just going to use one concealer for this look today, and I'm going to use the NARS one in Custard. This is such a good colour because it's like bright, but it's not too bright. And then using a concealer brush, I'm just going to first of all just put a little bit along the bridge of my nose. Like that, and then I'm going to apply some concealer under my eyes. I like to take the concealer up onto the nose so that it helps with the contouring of the nose, and then I'm just going to take it under like that, and also just into the middle of my Cupid's bow. I'm going to take the concealer up along where the eyeshadow is. This is so we can get a real lifted cheekbone, you know? Down onto my cheek a little bit, on my chin, and middle of my forehead. So before I blend in my concealer, this was a little trick that I picked up from the makeup artist on Instagram, and basically she said that when you want to blend in your concealer, get a little bit extra of the concealer that's on the back of your hand onto your beauty blender first, and then go in and blend your concealer. This just helps for the concealer to sort of stick on the face, and actually I do really feel like it does make a difference. I feel like you get a much more flawless finish if you've got just a little bit of the concealer already onto your beauty blender. So as you can see how I've gone along the edge of my eyeshadow, that kind of like winged look, it's really kind of lifted my cheekbone, so it's great for that kind of like real snatched contour look. So next I'm going to set my face. I'm using the Huda Beauty powder again for under my eyes. This one is the pink one that's in Cupcake. I love this powder. I've only really been using this Huda Beauty powder for about 2 weeks now, but I am obsessed with it. So I'm just gonna apply that with a little brush. This brush is a concealer, it's a B Cosmetics brush. This is a little concealer one. It's really good for doing under your eyes. So I had someone ask on one of my recent makeup tutorials, they were like, why do you set your face before you go in to bake? And it was just because if you watched my video I did after I went to the Makeup by Ariel masterclass, he just basically said that if you set the makeup under your eyes, you end up with less of that kind of cakey look. When you go in straight with a bake, sometimes it can go into the foundation rather than just baking on top. So once I've set under my eyes, I'm also gonna use that same powder and just put some on my forehead and down my nose and also on my chin. So now that we're done with that, I'm gonna go in with some Laura Mercier powder next. So this is the translucent setting powder, and I'm gonna use a big fluffy brush. This one is a NYX Professional, it's just a number 2 brush. And I'm going to set sort of everything else that I didn't put that Huda Beauty powder. I have honestly become obsessed with face powders since loving a matte makeup look. I just go all out in setting my face now. I'm so obsessed with matte makeup. Who would have thought it, considering I was a girl who was in love with highlighter, like obsessed with it. And now I am so all for the matte skin, it's not even funny. I'm just gonna go back in with that Laura Mercier powder and bake underneath my eyes. So for this, I press the powder on and then I sort of like drag it along rather than kind of like tap it, if that makes sense. I feel like if you drag the beauty blender, it allows you to get a little bit better control over where you're putting it. So this is a little tip that I've learned while I've been watching all these different makeup artists, Instagram stories, Instagram lives. So this is just to add a little bit more matteness to my skin, but I'm gonna use the Laura Mercier translucent powder, but in medium deep. And I'm gonna go in with it over where we put the contour. It's nice this because it warms your skin up just a little bit. It's not got too much of a color to it. And it really helps to make your skin look matte, which is obviously my favorite thing right now. So I am gonna go in with bronzer as well, but I feel like when you're going for a bit of a full glam, you can afford to put a bit more bronze colors on your face. I'm going back in with the MAC Give Me Sun, and I'm also using a blank canvas F42 brush. I like to follow the line of the contour, but then lift it up in sort of like the middle of my cheek, just so you got that real sort of like, I feel like when I put the bronzer more sort of in the middle of my cheek, I get that real kind of like dip just here, which helps to make your face look a little bit more like, you know? So yeah, so kind of like follow it down, but then lift it up into the apple of your cheek. So while I wait for the powder to bake just a little bit more, I'm gonna go on to eyebrows. So for this, I'm just gonna fill them in with a Precisely My Brow pencil. But for this one, I'm gonna go for slightly more defined on the outside, but I'm gonna keep it still quite feathered when it comes towards the front of my face. That is actually one thing I cannot wait to have done once we get out of it, is have my brows done again. The lamination did say it was only gonna last for about a month. And I can definitely tell that it's basically disappeared now. They don't feel quite so like bushy and they don't stay up as well on their own anymore. But I did love it, so I think I will definitely get it done again. So I'm just gonna fill in the front. So for this, I just like to start right down at the bottom of my brow and just draw little strokes upwards. So once I have both brows done, I'm just gonna set them with some 24-hour brow setter. This is the Benefit one. Before I go on to finish my eyes, I'm just gonna add some blusher. So I'm using the MAC, this is the Mocha Powder Blush. And the brush that I'm using is a Beauty Bay Make Me Blush brush. personal preference, you can put highlighter on here, but I'm not going to put any on because I'm going to stick with matte skin. So I'm just going to finish my eyes off, and for this, where's the brush gone? So I'm going to go back in with that darker shade from the KKW Beauty palette, the Glam King shade, and I'm just going to go along the outer corner of my lash line on the bottom. Then you can sort of join the bottom of the eyeshadow that's already there with your lower lash line. And then lastly, just to finish off the makeup look of my eyes, I'm gonna go in with some of the Bare Minerals Well Rested. This is a concealer powder, and it is amazing at brightening up the inner corner of your eye. So I'm just gonna put a little bit onto a big pencil brush, and I'm just gonna put it into the corner of my eye. As you can see, it's so bright. It's just such a good powder. The reason I love this so much is it gives me an inner corner highlight without having to use a shimmer, because it really does brighten the corner of your eye. This you can also add along to like the top of your brow bone if you wanted a little bit more sort of brightness up there. You can put it along the bridge of your nose. You can kind of put it anywhere that you want to highlight. So before I go on to lips, I'm just going to set my face, and for this I'm using the Max Fix Plus. So for lips, I'm going to use the Morphe liner in Sweet Tea, obviously my favourite one. And then just buff out the edges with your finger. And then for lip colour, I'm going to use NARS Velvet Lip Glide, and this is in the colour Stripped. I like these because they're somewhere between a gloss and a matte lipstick. They're just, yeah, and they feel so nice on. And so lastly, just to finish it all off, I'm just gonna put some mascara on my bottom lashes. So there we go, guys. That is my finished Glow Up Glam. I really hope that you've enjoyed this one. And if anything good has come from isolation, is the fact that I have been able to spend so much time practicing with makeup. So let me know below if you're loving this. And also, as always, if you do this makeup look, please tag me in all of your selfies, because I do love seeing you recreate the looks that I feature on my YouTube channel. As always, I will link all the products that I have used in this video below, so you can find anything down there. Give the video a thumbs up if you have enjoyed this, but I will see you all in my next video. Bye, guys.